Hello, everybody. Today I'm going to be talking about my problem with the idea of seeking or finding the truth. Now, this is because I have heard many people, especially in podcasts, intellectuals, modern intellectuals, or modern day philosophers or thinkers, talk about this, and they discuss many stimulating and interesting ideas. But when they get to the final conclusion, like what's the conclusion of all of this, let's summarize it and let's give us like an ultimate goal. They always say truth. Now, I talked about this, I think, in earlier videos, how I think people generally give a very vague or generic conclusion to kind of cut off the topic of the conversation or the flow of the conversation. So the idea here is that the ultimate goal of life is to seek or to find the truth, right? And I say, if this were true, this idea is incomplete. It's not incomplete in the sense of it's missing something. It's incomplete in the sense that it can't be done. You can't have the truth as your ultimate goal. I mean, it sounds nice. It sounds, I would say, emotionally, like passionately good. Like it sounds like some like a wise idea, and it sounds like a how can I say it? Like a good cause, right? But it's incomplete. It doesn't work. First, let's define the truth. The truth, for me, is defined by its counterpart, which is lying, right? So when you lie or lying, when you lie, in essence, what you are doing is you're hiding the truth, right? That is, you're hiding what was or what is, right? This happens mostly in circumstances, right? Like what is the current arena? What is the current feeling? What is the current situation, right? Or in action, right? Like what happened? What did he or she do? What did they do, right? Now, I don't know if you can perceive this, and I actually spoke about this in one of my earlier videos on the truth, but the truth is limited because here it goes. It only applies time wise to the past and the present. So if you want to know the truth, scientific truth, religious truth, what did you do yesterday? Are you hiding something from me? Right? Like infidelity, cheating on a test, like all these type of things. Like you want to know the truth of what happened. You can only know the truth about the past and about the present. You cannot know the truth about the future. So it's incomplete. If you were to seek the truth or find the truth, it would be incomplete because it would be missing the future. It's always going to be missing the future until the end of times, right? So I feel like you can be on the road to searching for wisdom, to searching for truths, which I really don't think it's something that you should label or explicitly say. I mean, you can say that's what I do, but you don't have to say it, right? That's kind of what I'm saying. So yeah, the truth is limited because it only applies to the past and the present, because the future isn't what is or what was yet, right? It's future. So, excuse me. Future is what can be, and what can be is multiple, it's indefinite, it's also undefined, it's incomplete, it's imperfect, and most importantly, it's hidden, right? It's hidden like a lie is hidden. So it's almost the opposite of the truth, right? So you can't know the future, right? That's why it's incomplete. The truth for me is also an approximation, right? Because we can't really know what is and what isn't, right? We can assume, but they're approximations because we don't have anything to verify what we know or what we think we know, right? I mentioned this in my truth video. So there is no absolute truth, right? And that's the problem. I feel that people want these absolute or these universals, right? And more than anything, it's a psychological need. It's so they can rest peacefully and they can be sure of themselves. And it's even counterproductive, because if you say, oh yeah, that's the objective, then I don't have to keep going, I don't have to move on, I don't have to keep searching. I just know that it's my absolute, it's my dogmatic idea, and that's it. I can stop right there. So you don't search anymore, you don't question anymore, you don't go after the truth anymore, right? Because you already know that that's the goal. So it's kind of counterproductive. And um, so I think people do that. They will talk about these absolutes or these universals to a certain extent, so they can rest peacefully. And this is due to the fear of not knowing. Now I want to throw this idea there with the truth, right? Because the truth is only what it is thanks to our perception of being able to understand it, and hence knowing the truth or the idea, right? But at the end of the day, truth is a made up word, right? And it takes on the unconscious fear of the unknown, right? Because what is truth? Truth is like that light that shines into the unknown, so you're able to now see, right? But it's like you're looking at it like the elephant. You grab the elephant's trunk and you say, oh, that's a snake, right? And you grab the elephant's trunk and you say, no, or a foot, and you say it's a tree trunk, right? So it depends where you're looking at it from, and that's going to very much affect the way in which you perceive truth, right? Which at the end of the day is subjective, and just because a bunch of people agree on it doesn't make it a fact, or like the ultimate truth, right? That's just consensus. So yeah, plus, where do facts fit into all of this, right? So what's the difference between a fact and the truth? Are they the same thing? Because according to Andrew Bustamante, ex-CIA agent, he says no, they're different, right? Like scientific facts or proven things that work, right? I think a lot of it falls under this idea of what's likely to happen, right? And then we can get into the empirical, which is based on previous experience, right? A posteriori knowledge, where you say, okay, I know this happens because it's happened before, and it happens every time it's done. So you do it and it happens, and that's a fact, right? Um, so just to conclude, I want to ask, what is this obsession with trying to conclude things, right? It's kind of like the zombie apocalypse, or just any apocalypse in general, like a nuclear war, world war, or whatever. People seem to want to conclude things, to end things. And it's like, while you're living in this life, you're not concluding anything. You're searching. You're on a constant journey, and you have to get used to that constant journey. You don't, if you get all dogmatic, it's like you're in a car traveling, but you're not the one driving the car anymore. You don't have control of where you're going, right? You're just, you say, oh, I already know this is my truth. And then like somebody else is driving the car or the bus, right? So here I have some examples of end goals that different people have set lately or throughout history. Like, for example, nowadays they say the end goal or the ultimate goal is understanding, right? That's what people say. You have to be more understanding, more tolerant, more show more empathy towards others, right? And I'm like, okay, but that's not the ultimate goal, right? We can't live only by that or exclusively by that. The intellects or the modern day thinkers will say truth, right? And this is what that whole video is. This is what this whole video is about, right? Love. Neo hippies will say, is what I call them. I don't know if that's a term, but neo hippies are these modern day like hippies that are like, oh yeah, it's all about love. Just love each other, love your neighbor, love yourself, love everything. Again, exclusively, it's like if you only live off one food. Let's say you can only eat hamburgers for the rest of your life. That's dogmatic thinking, right? If you only say you only need love and that's it, all we need is love. No, you need more things. I'm not saying that you don't need love, or you don't need hamburgers, or you don't need understanding and truth. You do. But if you solely focus exclusively on that and make it your ultimate goal, that's where you're wrong. Now, there's another idea, union with the one. This is something that the old philosophies used to say. The end goal is for you to unite and for everything to come together as one, right? Indiscriminate, which is where we come from, right? Like babies come from the unity, and then as they're born, as they grow up, they're able to discern and discriminate among things, right? Um, but the problem is that we really don't know. That's the truth. We don't know. We don't know what the ultimate goal is. And here I can adopt the skeptic's position without falling prey to postmodernism and say and be all like, oh yeah, nothing makes sense anymore. Everything is irrelevant. There is no truth. You know, um, without falling prey to that, I can take on a skeptic's position, right, from the philosophy of the skeptics, and just genuinely say we don't know, right? It's not being agnostic. It's like saying, well, it is kind of being agnostic, but that's related to God, because I am a believer. But in regards to truth, I'm really not. I'm like, well, it could be true today, but tomorrow it could change, and Andrew Bustamante and this other guy were talking about how it is, somebody quoted this phrase from, I think, Marx or Max Planck, and I thought it was very interesting. But it says, science or progress in science is not made with insights, but with funerals, which basically means that the ideas of the people that have been around for a while, or the old people, are the ideas that persist. And when they die, when it's their funeral, then that's when new ideas can actually take their place, right? And people seem, they have short-term memory. They seem to forget this, or they have they have, yeah, they don't have long-term memory. They only have short-term memory, and they seem to forget that things change, right? So they get all like dogmatic about science nowadays, right? Like, science is real, it's the only thing that exists. You can't, if you say otherwise, you're stupid, right? You get excluded. Okay, but anyway, I want to finish off by saying that the unity with the one as the end goal, I think, is the most precise idea of these ones that I mentioned. This is kind of like when you were used to be a kid and you were playing out in the street, and then you were called back home by your mom, right? After playing outside. It's kind of like when you die and God calls you back in, right? Like, okay, it's you've had your fun, now come back home, right? But I'm still trying to figure this out. But for me, it's the one that makes the most sense. And for me, the other ones are just moral values, which collective consensus, agreed upon values that that are functional, but not exclusively, right? Like, you can use them, right? Like, maybe here you need understanding, here you need truth, here you need love. But yeah, I think the one with unity with the one, or with God, or everything back together as one, I think that's the most. It's the one that makes the most sense for me. And I don't know if it's because I'm gonna start studying Hermetism, and it's one of the ideas in Hermetism that goes something like this, like we're all one, or something like that, or unity with the one. But yeah, that's all I got for this video. Let me know what you think. Is truth something that should be the end goal, or is it more of a means to get to something else? All right, so I'll see you in the next video. Peace.